everyone out there. Thank you for joining us today on Relationship Coaching Live. This podcast, it's live and it features anything that's relationship oriented. And it can be anything. If you think about, we have a relationship with, from a lover, a spouse to our GPS. I do have a relationship with my GPS. I used to have this Australian guy, and I don't know, now I switched to an American woman. So I kind of switch, so I get diversity there. I'm all about diversity. And speaking of diversity, today I'm really excited because I have a fantastic guest who is the co-founder, CEO, and head of film and acting departments at Spectrum Laboratory. Please welcome to the virtual stage, Jason Weisbrod. Hi, Jason.
Hey, Grace. How are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
Doing pretty good today. Yeah, feeling good. I went on a hike with my dog, so I'm feeling pretty good right about now.
Nice. You're way ahead of me. I just got out of bed, put on makeup, and put this hair extension, and that was it.
Yeah, I need to realize as I was getting older, I need a little self-care morning time. So I try to get out with my dog every morning just to start the day. Yeah.
That is a good idea. I wish I was a morning person because I would love to do that. It's very smart. We have to take care of ourselves.
Yeah, definitely.
Self-love. I'm all about self-love. That's number one. So today I am thrilled to have you with us because we're going to discuss neurodiversity, art, and the role of representation in the entertainment industry. Yes. So let's dive right in. Okay. So I would like to hear a little bit more, but to start about your personal journey. Could you tell us a bit about your journey with Spectrum Laboratory? What inspired you to create this incredible space for neurodivergent artists?
Yeah, so Spectrum Laboratory empowers and educates neurodiverse and autistic artists, also people with disabilities, to come and express themselves in a safe place, a safe area, safe zone. We have a recording studio. We do films. We do voice acting. We do acting coaching. Yeah, and that's our website there. Yeah, Spectrum Laboratory is really a place to come express yourself as an artist. And how I got involved and how I eventually started Spectrum Laboratory, which was 10 years ago. We started in January of 2015. I am a filmmaker. I'm an actor, a producer, a writer, an editor. I'm basically I was an independent filmmaker. I still am an independent filmmaker. Started in my, teens and did the whole Hollywood machine. Worked on films like huge, big budget movies to small independent films, creating with friends and acting classes to working on, big films. And one thing I learned is that the most fun I had was with my community, like the community of friends that I was around. And it's really difficult in LA, especially in Los Angeles, to meet up with friends and create because everybody's so busy all the time. And essentially I was working in the nonprofit realm with some autism organizations, autism related organizations, and doing musical theater and writing scripts and directing plays. And it was really fun. And then me and my co-founder Garth were working on a play together. And this student named Dominique Brown came in and had this book of 100 songs that he was writing, and then his voice was incredible. His great uncle is actually Marvin Gaye. So to give you a sense of who this amazing student is of ours, an individual, and he's just incredible and was singing songs and just got everybody riled up. And Garth was like, I want to record this guy in a studio. I want to get him into a professional studio instead of just doing a theater show where, even though theater is amazing and I love it, but it goes up and then it's gone. And a lot of these people that I met over the 15 years or so I've been working in the autism world that I met as 8, 10, 11-year-olds were now turning 18, 19, 20, 21. And their parents are like, I don't know what they want to do, but all they're interested in is the entertainment industry in some form or another. They want to try to audition. They want to try to be in TV shows and movies, or they want to play in a band, or they want to record their music and, get it on the radio. So Garth and I just kind of looked at each other and said, well, let's find an autism organization in Los Angeles that does this, that like trains them to get work in the entertainment industry. And there was nothing. This was 10 years ago.
Crazy.
It's changed over the last 10 years, but at the time there was nothing really. And except in LA, if you look around most of the US, there still isn't much. There's few other organizations like us that do this type of training and work, but Garth and I were like really about creating good content that they could use for their reels. They could use it for demo reels to get out there in the industry and to get work. And that guy, Dominic Brown, that we mentioned, actually a few years after we started, actually got on a Netflix show called Atypical. And so we realized like, this is working. Like this is actually like getting our students and getting our people out there and seeing, and we were creating music videos and songs and short films and just growing. And so my story was I took my knowledge of what I learned in the entertainment industry and then brought it to this community and realized, as I said before, I had the most fun working with my friends in the acting class community. I created like a new community of artists that I have a lot of fun working with and creating, and the stories that come out of this community are just so much fun and meaningful and lovely and filled with so much heart and love. And so it became a new path for myself and for Garth, who we both co-founded Spectrum Laboratory in 2015. And in January, it'll be 10 years and we're still going strong. So we had 6 students in our first class, and now we've got a roster of like 80 students or something. So
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You guys have grown so much. And I'm going to pull up the website again because I want people to see what you guys do. Right here, it says music, film and acting, and voiceover. So you have those 3 classes.
So those are our 3 main programs. And Garth Herberg is the music guy. Like he is a genius. He records songs. They have bands where they play live music. And then there's engineering. So even behind the scenes, like learning how to, in a studio, record and on programs and mix music. And then the film and acting is my department. And we create short films. We have on-camera acting classes where you learn how to do scenes from TV shows and films, and we record the scenes so you can watch yourself and see what you look like on camera, which is a big step in acting. And then there's improv comedy and sketch comedy writing also in the acting program. So I kind of head all of those programs. And then our voiceover program, which I started towards the beginning of Spec Labs, but probably in 2015, 2016, and I was running it for a few years. And then Kathy McCauley came along, and we just kind of swooped her in and brought her in, and she fell in love with everything that we do and our students. And she is the head of our voiceover program and has just grown that program so great. Like, it's just a beautiful program to the point where at any level you can come in at any age, start in the beginning. And then we have the beginning, the intermediate, the advanced, and then we have reels and apprenticeship programs. And to get to the point where you can actually submit yourself for auditions and get work on voiceover jobs. So yeah, those are our 3 big departments. So
I love it. And Kathy
in Spec Labs. Yeah.
Yes. And Kathy was actually a guest on one of my podcasts.
Yeah.
And she's going to also be I'm starting a new podcast. Well, it's not a podcast, but it's kind of like a show video thing, Top 10 with Grace. So we're going to do another Top 10 because we had so much fun. She's amazing.
Yeah. She's super fun. She's the thing I love about Kathy the most is how much our students love Kathy. Like it's pretty obvious. Like when they meet her, everybody is just like, Kathy's amazing. She's so great. And but for me, it was like just seeing how much the students responded to her at Spec Labs, and she just gets it. She gets it. She's a mom. Her daughter is on the spectrum. Yeah. And so it's already kind of built into her DNA, and she's been a great addition to Spectrum Laboratory. She's been with us almost 6 years, I think 5, 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So, which blows my mind, but yeah, it's, those are our 3 departments, and we're rocking and rolling.
I love it. So how would you describe the intersection between neurodiversity and art? Like in your experience, how do unique neurodivergent perspectives enhance creative expression?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I've learned kind of, working within the autism community for over 20 years now, is that not all, but a nice high percentage of those who identify as neurodivergent or autistic are really into the arts, and and that is their major passion. And a lot of the things I've noticed when it comes to work is it's very difficult to force someone with a neurodivergent brain to be uncomfortable, to get out of their comfort zone, to not want to do work with something that they don't care about. A lot of people in the world will just do their job because it makes money and and they need to, and that whole thing. But a lot of the neurodivergent brains don't really understand that as much, and they just want to focus on what makes them happy and what they love.
Absolutely.
To do. So the arts, what happened was, instead of that, taking that as a negative, Garth and I and Kathy have tried to spin it into a positive, which is most artists in the industry don't have a full-time job, and it's not a steady job. It's more gig related.
Yeah.
Why couldn't you have both? So in the sense of, like, if you get a job with Spec Labs and you're working on a project here, it's some nice freelance work for a little bit and you're doing something you love, but then you could also have your other job, whatever it may be, whether it's something at home that you're doing, or if you get a job at, a grocery store, or a job at a bar, or whatever, like it's, whatever that other job is. And that's what I did. I mean, I was a bartender and caterer, and I had two jobs always. I had 3 or 4 jobs a lot.
Same.
And so it's kind of that we kind of say that to the parents, who are of course very concerned, because the unemployment rate is out of control within the neurodiversity and autism community. It's like something like 85 to 90% are unemployed. So we try to look at it as, not only is, if they get a job on a TV show or they record for a voice acting job one day, that will not only be like, oh, cool, they got a paycheck, but it's also like making them feel better about themselves and bringing confidence and self-esteem into their work. So the arts is, for what I've noticed, is the direct line into a better life. For that, if you take away the arts, or you just say, no, you have to get a job, you have to make money and do all that, that can lead to a downfall or a downward spiral. And I've seen it. I've actually seen some students who have been with us and then get taken out, and then seen kind of what happens when they're forced into the so-called world they don't want to be forced into. So I think it's about balance, and I think that's what Garth and I preach. We don't have a vocational program in the sense of we train them to get a job. We're not like, we're not that. We like to think of ourselves as kind of a training educational school that like helps train them for the work. So when we get them jobs, or we put them on a set, and then if they do book that job and they get on the set, then they're like, oh, this isn't crazy weird. It's like, oh, it's like when I did that thing for Spec Labs. It's familiar, and trying to create a safe environment here, but hopefully not make it as, because it's crazy out there, because the Hollywood sets are intense, long days, people screaming, high stress and energy. And, it's not a healthy environment. It wasn't a healthy environment for me. So I left it, even though I still loved it, but it was most of the time it was a lot for me.
Absolutely.
And stuff. So I had the most fun on the sets I created. So, and I think that's our big goal, is Garth, Kathy, and I goal is to create a production studio for the autism and neurodivergent community in Los Angeles. So not are we only creating projects, but clients are coming to us and saying, hey, I want to hire you guys. And then we're hiring our students to work on these things. And it just happened. On Sunday, we were hired by a healthcare company to create 5 commercials. and we shot commercials all day on Sunday and brought our students in to act in it, to write music for it, to operate sound behind camera. So we kind of just like, we're trying to build this like production studio where not only is it just the talent in front of camera, but it's also like people working behind the scenes on it as well, editing and all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
That's amazing. And this kind of leads me to the next question I wanted to ask you, because you were talking about challenges as a neurodivergent. What are some of the biggest challenges that neurodivergent artists face when trying to break into the Hollywood scene?
I think one of the challenges is the anxiety. I think that's probably the biggest challenge of being told no so many times throughout your life, or you can't do this, or you won't be able to. And what that has like kind of been ingrained in a lot of our students or our artists' brains is like, I can't do this. It's too much. It's too scary. It's too different. It's too much. It's overwhelming. When Garth and I know they can, so we don't pressure, we just challenge. We say, we know you can do this. Like, and what we've realized over time is maybe like 8 or 9 times out of 10, they rise to the challenge and they do it and they prove to themselves. And then once it's done, they're like, I did it. Like, I can't believe I did it. This wonderful girl, Caroline, who has been on a bunch of our shoots and stuff. Like, every time she gets on set, she still gets extremely nervous and almost gets to a point where she wants to quit or she doesn't think she can do it. And it happened on Sunday in the commercial shoot, but she stuck with it and she was able to get through it. And I think that's because of her past experience of working on the stuff with Spec Labs. So I think a lot of it is giving up too early, quitting too early and not giving it a chance. And because something of being overwhelmed and anxiety and just getting there and being like, this is too much. I'd rather do something more comfortable. So I think what we've realized is over time, the more they can express themselves and get comfortable and realize that they can do it, that they can, memorize those lines and actually say it on camera. And even though they think, oh, I did a terrible job, I'll be like, no, that was amazing. And then they'll see it, the end result, and they'll be like, oh, it actually is pretty good, where they think they did terrible. Wow. So I think that it's getting out of, the anxious brain.
Yes.
And realizing I can do it, having the confidence to do it. And I think that's just with a lot of things in life. Like, you can't just sit a piano player down in an orchestra and be like, play with the orchestra. You got to practice, you got to keep going at it. And I think that's the toughest challenge, is staying with it, practicing and understanding. If you just shoot one thing, you're not all of a sudden going to be famous. It's working. It's working. And I think that's why I think the unemployment rate's so high. Is because I think it's the working aspect, and it's tough because for anybody, but especially for those who are on the spectrum.
It's more intense. I think the anxiety might be more intense than for somebody who's not neurodivergent. So that's a lot to overcome.
Sensitivity issues, a lot of things to get through. So working environments are stressful environments. Any way you look at it, it's very, so that's just that's the challenge, I think.
Yeah, but I love that you're helping all these kids kids, I call them kids, but some of them are grown.
Kids, so I still kind of call a lot of them kids.
You call them kids, I know.
Yeah.
That you're helping them face their fears and also understand that they're so much better than what they think they are. Like sometimes, and it happens to all of us, but I can't imagine if you're neurodivergent, it's more intense, where you're like, when I used to do stand-up in the beginning, I would be like, that was terrible. And then I would watch the video and I was like, that wasn't that terrible. Like in my head, it was horrific. And then I realized, oh, I didn't even hear the laughs. I have the opposite problem. Like I didn't hear the laughs. I didn't think. So being hard on yourself, I guess it's times 100 when you're neurodivergent.
Yeah, I have a student, Josh, who I love to death. He's so awesome, and he's such a sweet guy, but he gets so down and hard on himself. like we did a show called Speckoween, which was a big like Halloween show.
Yeah.
And he almost was so nervous to do it. And then he went out there and he killed. He was great. And he got all these laughs. And then he came off stage and he's like, was I good? Like, didn't hear the laughs. You know, was I okay? Did I do okay? And I was like, you nailed it. You did great. And still was like, I don't know, like still, you know, didn't realize. So again, I think the more Josh practices and does it, the better and more comfortable he'll become. And I think that's a big part of just being an artist. I mean, most artists just fall probably somewhere on the spectrum, and you know, and it's just that, you know, this amazing man, Jorge Gutierrez, is a creator of the Book of Life movie and Maya and the Three on Netflix. He's an animator and director, and he came and spoke to our students. One of the things I love to do is like bring in professionals and do workshops and speak to our students. And one of the main messages of his whole speech to our students, because he's autistic himself, he's on the spectrum himself, he said, like, you have to create, you have to do, and you can't hold on to that little tiny baby and just hold on to that one thing, you know, throw that one out, keep creating, keep just doing anything. Because he said for like the 500 or so rejections, there's that one approved one you get to make. But if you just stuck on that one, then those other, you know, that would never get made. It's like, you know, you just keep going, keep creating, you know. And one of my mentors from a long time ago said, if you're an actor, you act. If you're a writer, you write. You know, if you're a dancer, you dance. Like, you can't just sit around waiting for it to happen. You got to create. So
absolutely,
that's what we do at Spec Labs, is just constantly to create. We're always shooting films, we're always making music, we're always doing voice acting works, or Kathy is doing like some like mixed media theater productions now with us. So we're just like constantly trying to give opportunities for our students to perform and create and express themselves.
Absolutely. And the more you produce, you never know what's going to hit, you know. It's since I started the YouTube channel, well, I started it a few years ago, but I never did anything to it. And I restarted in January, and I posted over 400 videos. Like, I look back and I'm like, how did I do that? 400, that's insane. I must be a little bit crazy. Not a little bit, a lot.
That's what you do.
And I love it. It's just so much fun for me. I do suspect I might be in the spectrum, but I'm not. Neurodivergent.
Yeah, neurodiverse somewhere. Yeah, there's a lot of different things that fall under the neurodivergent spectrum, where autism spectrum is, you have that ASD.
It's different. Yeah.
You have the official diagnosis. So I like to kind of say, like, well, if you're autistic, because some people self-diagnose, but I'm a little bit weary of like the self-diagnosis when it comes to autism.
Yes,
I think that calling yourself autistic, you should have that diagnosis of the ASD. Autism.
Absolutely, yeah.
But on the neurodivergent spectrum, that's just kind of like, my brain's a little different. I work a little different, and for me, it's even like, you know, who knows, like, there's so many different things like ADHD and Down syndrome and cerebral palsy and anxiety disorders that all fall like OCD, in like all in there. So that's a huge spectrum.
It really is.
It was already very big, a big umbrella term, but even the neurodivergent one's even bigger.
The neurodivergent, yeah, absolutely. I think I'm definitely somewhere in there. Because the more I talk about neurodivergence, and I talk to people like you, and you're saying things, and I'm like, that sounds like me, you know, and a lot of the things that you're saying, you know, like, for example, the anxiety about, you know, that has always been a thing. I'm getting over it. I'm a little bit ADHD. I think, like, I can have 20 things going at the same time and complete them. And I jump from one thing to the other. It's so crazy.
It's you know, so for me, it's like, as we're going, like, a lot of people ask us, like, do you need a diagnosis to be a part of Spec Labs? And we're like, no, we're just an artist community. Like, you don't have to just be you and show up. And if you like what we do, you can hang out with us. Like, we also are really like strong belief in inclusion. And so we love having, like, all different types of people working together, whether you're on the
Mhm.
spectrum or not on the spectrum or
Yes.
whatever. So we have people in wheelchairs and people with Down syndrome and, people who don't have an autism diagnosis, people who have, all different sorts of things going on.
Yes.
We're just a storytelling factory.
I love that. I think that's
So it's
amazing.
like if you have cool stories and you're an artist and you belong. So
Yeah, you're doing beautiful work. I love it. It's great. So regarding Hollywood, okay, do you think that there are specific barriers or stereotypes that you feel we need to break down within the entertainment industry?
Definitely. This has kind of been like the big, fight and been going on within Hollywood, and we've seen some amazing growth. There's
Yes.
still a lot of work to do, but since I started Spectrum Laboratory till now, like over the past 10 years, like 10 years ago, maybe once a year you'd see a movie that would come out that would feature someone with a disability or
Yes.
someone who was autistic. Like you would only see that really randomly. And now, because of the success of Coda winning an Oscar, the show Love on the Spectrum, which I know quite a few people on that, and different things like that, winning Emmys, and like it's just becoming.
Yeah.
I think what's happening is the Hollywood's starting to realize, like, oh yeah, we can still make those huge blockbusters and try to make a lot of money off that, but I think there's money in actual like cool real life stories about different types of people from different walks of life. So it's starting to open up a conversation. Casting directors are reaching out a lot more because they're getting more scripts and things that are featuring more characters. So it's happening, but I still think like most of the stuff you see and what they put so much money into is not only is it bad, but it's also just like the same old formula, same old machine.
Yes.
Not very diverse stories. But even though it's, the representation matters is a big movement that was happening, showing, and I think the major thing that is we're seeing more of those stories. There's still not a lot, but authentic casting is still got a long way to go because they'll see people who, if they have an autistic character, they'll see autistic characters for that role, but a lot of times they won't hire an autistic character because they could be like, well, we've got this person who's got, this many followers on TikTok and Instagram, and they're huge and they got all this following. They could, they're more of a money safe thing in the studio's mind than it actually is. And the studio still has some weird barriers around the accessibility and like hiring people, and it's going to cost them a lot more money to hire someone with a wheelchair than just like put a typical actor in a wheelchair, and is that going to cost us more money? And there's a lot of good people out there who've been doing work proving that wrong, that it's not actually costing a lot more money to do these accessibility things on set and to make sets more a diverse place, and that not only does it not cost you more, but it'll actually like it could help your film and make more people of different walks of life want to watch your movie if they see someone who looks like them on screen versus Tom Cruise flying around in the air. So we'll see what happens. I mean, that's still great, but it's I think who was it? It was so great. The American Fiction writer, I can't think of his name, but the guy who wrote American Fiction and directed it, he was working on some great shows like The Good Place and stuff, and he got to direct American Fiction, and Jeffrey Wright was in it. It was a great movie. I wish I could remember his name right now. But anyway, at the Oscars, he said for that $200 million movie, you could make 40, $2 million movies or whatever the math is. But you could do so many more movies that are meaningful, because his movie only cost $4 or $5 million, probably something like that, instead of, this big movie that they put 200 million in, and then it ends up flopping and they end up losing on a lot of it. So it's just kind of, I think that's a big step. And because that movie was about, that was a racial fused movie about, a black man who they said you need to write blacker. And it was this like little independent film that just really made a big mark and was a great film about breaking down barriers in Hollywood. So I highly recommend American Fiction. It's a very cool movie about breaking down barriers in Hollywood and how we can do that and get better at it.
Well, now with the situation where Hollywood is a little bit shrinking, and YouTube platforms like YouTube and TikTok and social media in general are portraying and allowing actually for us regular people to tell our stories. And people realize, oh, not everybody looks like Tom Cruise or is like Tom Cruise or this big star or whatever. And I think that has opened the door for stories like, that movie that series Atypical to happen, because people want to know about real people, not just what Hollywood portrays. So
yeah. And I think that's there are some upsides to the YouTube shorts and short content media, because there is a lot of inspiring and like thought-provoking stuff that is in short form. That can, educate masses about different types of people. And I think because I'm obviously that's a lot of the content that I get on my phone through Spectrum Laboratories Instagram page. It's like, there's a lot of that kind of content. The problem is some of it is, created for the views, for the likes. And so a lot of those stories are fake too, which is, it blows my mind that people go out there and like fake a disability and just to get views on.
My God,
it's also we got to be smart about the content, making sure we check like if that person actually does have that disability or is on the spectrum, because it's crazy. There's people out there who I know Abby Romeo from Love on the Spectrum. I've known her since she was like 11 or 12 years old.
Oh my God.
And Abby is autistic. And there's so many people online that are saying she's not. And there's haters out there saying she's not autistic. This is fake. And I'm just like, because other people are doing that. That's the problem. And that's when we gotta be smart about what we're watching and what we're doing. So there's a good side and a bad side to the short form content out there. People like to call it inspiration porn. So it's like, we got to be careful what you watch and what you see, and make sure that if you are sharing these types of like feel good stories, make sure they're authentic.
Yeah, that's why I'm so passionate about, my topics on this channel, on my YouTube channel, are neurodivergence, it's neurodiversity, narcissistic abuse. These are topics that I'm like so passionate about. And it's a great opportunity to bring people like you who, are doing what you're doing. And so people see real people that, there's no fakeness. And, I think that's very important. And we all have a role to play in this new world where we can get our stories out there. And like you said, we have to be really careful and be very discerning of, is this real or not? Even with AI, it's like, it's not that good yet, but at some point I think people are going to, they're going to put out content that is outrageous, and it's going to look like real people, not AI.
Yeah. And there could be a lot of AI characters that, have so-called disabilities and stuff that they create and they put out there. And that's going to be an interesting conversation when we get there. But I think it's just, as a consumer, being smart about what you're watching, what you're sharing, what you're putting out there. And, there will always be that. It's just kind of the way human nature is. But that's why I think, what we're trying to do is just showcase real, authentic stories and showcase their voices, and not just like in a short form, quick way of seeing it, but more of like a, this is who I am, this is my story. So you can learn about, what they're going through, what their struggles are, so our short films, like we have fun. A lot of them are quirky comedies and fun stuff. But at the same time, like we touch upon these subjects within there, and they don't hit you over the head. They're not, we try to make fun content, that showcases that is like, oh, wow, 80 80 to 90% of this production was all created by neurodivergent artists. So that's kind of the thing too, is just to highlight the music, the scores are, written by autistic artists, and, our editors, autistic, like, just to show like it's not just in front of to try to get the likes and views, but it's more about like a movement of, telling authentic stories. Yeah.
I love that. And what do you think are some real impacts of seeing these diverse talents represented on screen for both the neurodivergent audiences and the broader public?
I think the big thing that I hear is from, and you've heard it from different stories, from whether they're LGBTQ plus stories or stories of people of color, and diversity and stuff, and stories is, I think the main thing is little kids or young children seeing someone who's like them up on the screen.
Yes.
Seeing a story that they can relate to, instead of it being what the old Hollywood formula was. You used to watch movies and be like, wow, those people are superheroes and they're crazy and I could never do that. And, or, or their skin color is different than mine, or they are super buff, and, and I maybe can never be that way, or whatever it is. Just seeing different types of people represented on screen, and kids getting inspired by seeing that, and then wanting to tell their story more, or wanting to get their voice heard more. So like our big motto is let us be heard. So it's kind of like, seeing people that are like you succeeding. I just had a Zoom meeting with an animator, and he said that when he saw, I won't say his name, but he saw an animator's name for one of his favorite TV shows that he watched, and this animator was from his hometown, like his area that he would, and that inspired him to be like, oh, just because it's a simple way of identifying of like, oh, he came from my hometown, he's like me, I can do this. And that's a simple kind of example of like, some big shows or some networks and things, like I gotta say, like even Disney is putting up, even in the Marvel crazy franchise, there's, a Muslim American girl on Ms. Marvel, and I think that's huge as far as like, young Muslim girls looking like I can be a superhero, and that's just like, that's this kind of stuff that we want to see more of, whether or not it was done well or not.
Yeah.
Steps in the right direction, seeing diverse, different types of stories being told. And instead of like a group of friends and one of them is in a wheelchair, it's like, whoa, how crazy would it be if like 4 of them are wheelchairs and then there were only like 2 people walking in the group of friends, instead of it just making it like we have to fill that quota. We have to like, just so we don't get attacked by the PC police. Like, right. We need to make one character in our movie, black. Okay, cool.
Exactly.
Black. So it's just kind of seeing bigger groups of diverse talent working together. And I think that a lot of it has to be changed in Hollywood. Behind camera is in the writer rooms, I think, is the next big kind of thing, is getting those authentic voices and stories being told of actually authentic writers. And, not going to the normal writers they're used to and trying to like scope out different stories and different writers from communities like Spectrum Laboratory.
Yes. So how do you think like organizations, studios, and even fans contribute to a more inclusive Hollywood? How can that happen?
I think by watching those stories, and then going online or going to those studios' websites or whoever created those, and letting them know how much they love, because those studios have a million things they're creating. But Netflix is an algorithm. So the more people watch those type of stories, the more Netflix will go, oh, we can continue to make those type of stories. Yes. If people aren't watching diverse stories and stories about autistic people and things like that, the algorithm's not going to pick it up and it's not going to work. And that's just kind of like the unfortunate world we live in. I mean, even if, it's so crazy, like Coda won the Oscar and stuff. And then like I heard the next year, I don't think it was Netflix or something, but people are trying to get more stories told about deaf people and deaf individuals, and there was like, and then they were like, oh, we just did that. It's like the Hollywood thing was like, we just got that. We let's look.
That is, let me tell you,
that's kind of
Jason,
like, it's mind blowing that it's like,
that is so
you know,
typical.
that's the way it is.
Yeah.
And I mean, this isn't a diverse story. I kind of is in a way, but the same thing happened with my friend Jorge Gutierrez, who I talked about, told me that Pinocchio, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, is a stop motion animated film, and it won the Oscar. And Netflix was like, it costs too much money. We're not going to do it. We're going to do other stuff that works with the algorithm. And they said no to his next stop motion film. So if they're saying no to Guillermo del Toro winning an Oscar, you can imagine how tough it is if the algorithms aren't working in your favor. So I guess the long answer is watch diverse stories, seek out stories that you want to see, and watch those movies. They're out there, and support them, and tell your friends about them. And that's the kind of small scale thing you can do. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I think that's just common sense, right? Watch and support, right?
Watch and support, vote on Rotten Tomatoes if you can, like, give it a good score, and whatever, any way you can, and or contact the, like I said, the studio heads, or just send them email or infiltrate their social media and say, I love this movie so much. Make another one like this,
Totally. Well, let me get you some feedback on the show. Salvador saying, loving the show. Thank you, Salvador. Sal, I love Sal. And Kelly sends us 3 hearts. Thank you, Kelly. I love Kelly too. Yeah, we have really good, like, solid people always watching, and I love them so much. Thank you, guys. Yeah, thank you guys for your support and your love. We really, really appreciate you. So now let's go to, like, the creators, okay? So what advice would you give to neurodivergent artists and creators who are just starting their journey in the arts or media?
Yeah, that's a question I get a lot. My main answer is find your community. So if you're not in Los Angeles and you can't, jump and be a part of Spec Labs, we actually have online classes. So you can jump in and do classes with us online. We have Spec Labs online. We just launched it last year, and we're going to keep adding classes to that. So that's really exciting and fun. So we can work with people, not just in LA. But if you don't like Zoom, you don't like doing online classes with us, if your community doesn't have anything to offer, then I really highly suggest finding an online community. But if you're lucky and you have really cool acting classes or music classes or any type of the art form you're interested in your community, even if it's scary, even if it's challenging, you don't know who you're going to see there, the first step is like just trying to go and find like-minded, awesome people that want to create. And that's the beginning step. If you're somebody who's already got scripts and you're writing stuff and you're like, I want my script to get seen and read, hit send it to us, like, let us know. Because just sitting on your scripts and trying to send them to agents or to studios, it's a long shot. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's very hard just on a blind, like cold, like just to send something in and hope somebody's going to read it. It's really about you. Not all, but a lot of people who make it in the business work really hard, and they make their own stuff and they get really big. A great example is Jon Favreau, who is now like the Disney guy. He like makes all the Disney movies and all the Star Wars stuff. But Jon Favreau started his career with Vince Vaughn making a small independent film called Swingers that's how they got in. That's how Jon Favreau broke in, was by making his own film. A small little independent film, but it was his voice, and he's told his voice, and Vince Vaughn told their voice, and now they're huge. But they wouldn't probably, if they were just waiting around for agents to call, they probably wouldn't be Jon Favreau and Vince Vaughn like they are today if they didn't Swingers. So that's like a big story of just kind of make your own stuff, but find a community of artists that you can share your stuff with and get feedback. Constructive criticism is great. If somebody just says, I don't like this, then don't hang out with that person. But if somebody says, hey, this was really cool, but I think maybe if you change this or did this, and then all of a sudden you're working with someone and you're throwing ideas around, and that's a community. And whether it's 3 or 4 people or 20 people, whatever, just finding some cool people you like to work with. And the entertainment industry is a collaboration. It's made up of teams. You have to learn how to work with other people. And I think that's another challenge I didn't tap into earlier about, for those of us, those who are on the spectrum, working in groups can be very difficult. A lot of people on the spectrum like to do stuff on their own or think they can do it on their own and don't want to work with other people. But I'm constantly saying, like, you need to know how to work with a group environment and work with other people, and to be positive and to be friendly and fun to work with.
Yes.
You got to practice that, because it doesn't come naturally for everyone to just, and then over time you might start off being like, oh, this is weird. I don't like showing people my stuff or talking to them about this, but then over time you realize, like, oh, I really like their suggestion, or actually what they said is really cool, or oh, they're making my story better. And then you start to realize, like, filmmaking, especially in music, I mean, it's a team, music is, you're playing with other people. In bands, you're playing with you're collaborating. So I think a lot of art, except for the, more in the drawing or graphic design world, or that can be a little more solo work.
Yes.
But if you want to get into filmmaking, if you want to get into music, and I just think it's good for anyone just to learn how to work with other people and, learn how to be a positive person within a group of people working together.
100%. So what is next for Spectrum Laboratory? And are there any upcoming projects or initiatives that you're excited about and would like to share with us?
Yes, there's always so much going on. Right now, we just released our latest short film on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is down there.
Yes.
It's called House of Masks. It's our first foray into psychological thriller. So it's a kind of a dark comedy, but in the Hitchcock realm. It's like very different. We've never made anything like it. I'm really proud of the film and the actors' performances in it, and the score that a few of our students did, including the lead actor, Atticus Jackson, who's in the film, did a lot of the score. There it is. There's the poster right there, House of Masks. Right next to it, Inheriting Wonderland was a big mixed media production. At the helm of it was Kathy McCauley, who wrote the script with one of our students, Henry Dodds, and we did a live production, and you can watch the whole production on our page right there of Inheriting Wonderland, a brand new take on Alice in Wonderland with all new music. We had a band on stage. It was awesome.
Wow.
And then, and Boys Don't Wear Dresses is an oldie but goodie up there. That was an LGBTQ plus film about an autistic transgender individual coming out, told through like a PG fairy tale Cinderella story, written by myself along with Alani Shorin, who is the inspiration behind the film. So we've got a ton of short films and fun things. One of my old favorites is the Benchworm Nerds on there, one of our short films, and it just screened at a film festival this past weekend at LA Live in downtown LA at the Regal Cinemas. We had Benchworm Nerds, so we were all in the theater watching it on the big screen, and it was amazing. One of my students was like, I've never seen myself on a big screen in a theater before, and it was just amazing. So yeah, besides like going on our YouTube page and watching our films and stuff, next year's our 10-year anniversary, so we're going to do a big 10-year celebration in the summer. So we're working towards that, hoping to make it a big show, sometime probably around June. And other than that, we're winding down right now for classes, but we end in early December. But we're starting up in January again with a whole bunch of classes, voiceover classes, music classes, acting classes, film classes, starting next year. Yeah. So yeah, always working on stuff, short films, recording music, and trying to get our actors auditions and some work out there.
You're doing great work. I love it. And to wrap up, what's your vision for a fully inclusive entertainment industry, and what are the first steps we can all take to get there?
So my vision is within, I can only think within Spectrum Laboratory. I can think a bit bigger, but I think it would start if we are working towards getting our own production studio.
Yeah.
So if anybody out there can help us, we're looking for an amazing space where we can have all of our educational classes in, but also have a theater to be able to do performances and shows and to build sets for our movies, and have a film studio, an editing studio, a music studio. So we're looking for our big 10-year goal is a big spec lab studios in Los Angeles. But I think what would happen if that happens, it'll make the dream bigger, because if those studios are in LA, people will see the model of what we're doing and realize they can also do it wherever they're at, in New York or Chicago or wherever, Oklahoma, wherever they can look at this as an example. And not only that, but through our online platform, we can find talent, not just in LA, and maybe bring them out to the studio and help them create their story.
Yes.
And finding different voices all around the world. So that's kind of the big vision, is our studio kind of being, one of my friends liked to call it the dream works for autism. And I was like, yeah, but the dream works for diversity, because we're not just autism related, but like, an inclusive environment where they can, so Netflix calls us and says like, hey, we've got this project, how can you help us? And we can help them create better stories, more inclusive stories. And I think if we're doing that, other people will see that and they'll want to do it. And then there'll be not just Spec Labs, but a bunch of other organizations and things out there doing this all around. And it could be a cool movement that, can help change the way we view Hollywood and the stories coming out of there, and making it not just Hollywood anymore, but making it, I don't know, not Hollywood being the center of it all.
Right.
I think Hollywood's falling apart anyways, but Hollywood kind of stands for the entertainment industry. But yeah, stories are going to be coming from all over the world now, more and more. And I'm actually excited about that, because I think we're going to see a lot more different types of stories. Like I'm watching a show right now about Ireland in Netflix, and it's a show that was shot in Ireland. And it's like, 10, 15 years ago, that wouldn't be on a major network, that'd be on like something. So Kelly, it is falling apart.
It is falling apart. It is. Agreed.
The world's changing.
Yes.
And we'll see.
I think personally that as far as entertainment, there's going to be a lot of different platforms and stuff, but I think YouTube is trying to be like the unified international Netflix, and social media also, and and TikTok, and kind of putting everything together. I think that's where the future is. And on YouTube, you can tell.
Yeah, most kids don't even watch TV anymore. They're just watching.
No, I don't. I'm not a kid, and I don't. I haven't had like TV. I have a screen just to stream, and lately, to be honest, 90% of what I watch is on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's
people, my nieces, they don't even watch. I mean, I think they watch Disney Plus and YouTube, and like that's it.
So we're and I love that humanity has the word unity in it. So I think that that's where we're heading, even though it looks crazy right now. But
well, in the dark times, a lot of really good creative art can come out of that. So that's maybe a positive to take over these next few crazy years, is it might produce very wonderful art, possibly some good side to see out of it all.
I agree. I think regardless, we need to unite. Love and unity, that's the answer, I think, to everything. And you're part of this movement of love and unity, and I love that. I love to see it, and loved having you here on Relationship Coaching Live. And we would love for you to come back if you want to come back, and when you have a project or anything.
We can bring Garth or some of our students on to talk about their experiences. That would be very cool, because they would love that.
I love that. Yes, let's do it. Let's talk after, and we'll set it up. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Jason. I'll take it. Just wait for me in the virtual green room. Okay.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Bye. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. And I just wanted to see, I just dropped See, gobble till you wobble. So I just dropped my Thanksgiving merch, and I would love for you guys to check it out at my online shop, the State of Grace shop, and I will give you a little discount. Let me see, where's the State of Grace shop? I have all these banners. Oh, did I delete that? I probably did. Oh my goodness, I am going nuts. But anyway, the discount code is Thanksgiving 10. So I'm going to put it here. Okay, here it is. Thanksgiving 10 for all Thanksgiving merchandise. There's 4 different, like this one. I love this one. This is my favorite. That's why I got it. Gobble till you wobble. And there's like 3 other things that I created. These are all my creations. And the t-shirt actually is amazing. It's really nice. It's not too warm, not cold, so you can wear it inside. And if you go outside, you can just put, a jacket on and you're fine. It's long sleeve. I think we have some short sleeves. We have different designs, but I would love for you guys to support the State of Grace shop if you can, and get yourself a nice mug or t-shirt for Thanksgiving, and use the promo code Thanksgiving10 for all the Thanksgiving merchandise. All right, my loves, I love you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for your support, and let's keep changing the world one step at a time. Humanity, unity, love, and unity. That's all it takes. Mwah. This Thanksgiving, bring a little extra grace to your gatherings. Start your day with gratitude and a warm cup of love with our Thanksgiving mugs. Celebrate in style with our super soft teas for the big feast or a comfy couch day. Designed to bring joy, laughter, and a dash of Thanksgiving spirit to your home. These pieces are just waiting to make memories with you and your loved ones. Get yours now and make this Thanksgiving unforgettable.